All right, so looking forward to this week, being on the road, playing against Arkansas. Guys showed up on Sunday, did a good job as far as looking at the Georgia game. What did we learn? And then going out there practicing and making it a good practice as far as just cleaning things up, and then also moving on and getting ready for this week and preparing for. We have an early game against Arkansas. We got another week to get ourselves better. We're going to travel, so handling that again. So all those factors that we just have to focus on when it comes to just us being a better football team. And no injury updates right now. We had no players of the game from the Georgia game, but just looking back on it, Georgia's a very good team. They've proven that. I've said that before. We knew that going into the game, and there's opportunities for us to make plays. Opportunities for us to coach better and to do things that we all can improve on. And that's what we have to take into this week. You just got to learn and get better. You got to improve on things that you haven't worked hard enough at, or that you still need to perfect. And so it's just that ongoing process of doing those things. And, the challenge is doing it at a very high level every single day. That's the challenge. And you're going to need to do that in order to continue to be successful, especially with the type of teams that we're playing. And as you look at Arkansas, tough, physical, those two things stand out. The coaches do a very good job. They're 2 points away from being 5-1, and they're playing aggressive. And so, those things all stand out. There's a lot of really good players on their team. They've all made plays. Offensively, the quarterback can run it, throw it, can do it all. They play physical up front. They can run the ball. And, that's an identity of that team. Defensively, a lot of different things. I think Coach Odom does a very good job on that side of the ball, and you can see the variety in the defensive schemes and how they play. And they faced some very good offenses this season as well. And so there's a challenge there. Special teams are solid. And there's opportunities there to make plays, and they've created those plays on special teams. So all those factors, as you look at Arkansas, in my opinion, they've done a very good job up to this point, and you can see that within their team. And for us, we got to prepare well. We got to play hard when we get that time and an opportunity to go out and do that. And we got to focus on all the little things that we have to continue to keep improving, and then just overall as a team, just keep growing, keep developing, and keep believing in what we're doing, and getting guys to step up in certain areas, create some competition at some positions, and then have ourselves ready to go again this week against a really good team. So with that, questions.
First question is from Brian Matthews.
Yes, Brian. Is this the week or a good week for y'all guys to really get it going in the running game, get Tank going, establish it, as my buddy Ferg would say?
Well, yeah, every single week we've been trying to do that. Yeah, we haven't waited, for the Arkansas week. That wasn't a preseason plan. We've been trying to do that every single week. And that's something that I think, most teams want to do. They want to establish the run. We'd like to do that. We'd like to run the football. We got to be balanced, though. So we still got to be able to throw it and do things on the perimeter. But it's not just Tank. It's everybody. Everybody on the offensive side of the ball that has to be able to do that. O-line, tight ends, wide receivers, running backs. Everybody's got a piece of the pie when it comes to the run game, and that continues to be something that we've got to focus on, and doing the things we know we're capable of doing, but doing them consistently.
Mark Murphy.
Yes, I want to ask about Landon King. How's he developing, and what's his potential for the second half of the season?
Well, you saw Landon in there a little bit at the end of the game. I think he's got a tremendous upside. What does that mean? And I think that as we move forward in the future and his ability to play the game, like he's worked really hard. He showed up on scout team, which earned him opportunities to get out there with the offense and contribute and be a part of that. And at the end of the day, we're still competing within our team. That never ends. That's one thing that we all have to understand is we're competing against our opponents every week. But internally, we're still competing within ourselves and trying to get the best guys on the field. And everybody on this team, I hope, wants to be out there and play. And so guys that do, they can see opportunities, they can see where they can help. And then it's a matter of finding a role for them within what we're doing. Offense, defense, special teams, whatever that is. And Landon's a guy that we felt like had somewhat of a role going into that last game, may have a role moving forward and how we can utilize him. And he'll work hard at it. I think he really wants to be out there. I think he's determined to get on the field and contribute. And, we obviously need to be better in areas where we can go make plays. And that comes back to how we prepare, practice, and the guys that are doing those things day in and day out are going to have the chances to be on the field and playing for us.
Brian Stoltz.
Ryan, we all saw Bruce Pearl in the front row, shirtless, flexing his muscles before the game and trying to get the crowd pumped up. How does that to have like a high-profile coach of another sport kind of help you recruit, and kind of how much does it mean to have him care about the football team that much? And should we expect to see you shirtless in the jungle this season for a basketball game?
Well, I'll answer the first part. One, I appreciate it. And really, Bruce has been, and we talked about it, Bruce is tremendous for just this entire athletic program, and then obviously the football program. We appreciate that. He supports us. We support our basketball program. But there's other head coaches that do those things as far as helping with everything that we're trying to accomplish here at Auburn. And it's a team effort when it comes to recruiting. You try to get the best players in all sports to come here and be a part of Auburn and our athletic program and this university. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate his energy. He's always got it. It's been tremendous. All the other stuff, that's, an opportunity to enjoy the game. So, and I think he did that and certainly brought the energy. I don't know everything that you're talking about, but I'm glad that he's on our side and certainly a part of this program.
Michael Gittens.
Hey, Coach. In conjunction with Brian Matthews' question about the run game, you said earlier this season you wanted to be balanced, but that started with being a downhill run the ball team. Through 2 SEC games, you've got 91 passes to 58 runs. How do you get back to running the ball with teams seemingly loading the box and kind of daring you to throw? And is that the blueprint you expect Arkansas to take defensively against your offense on Saturday?
Yeah, ideally, you want to run the football. One way to do that is stop losing early. That's a way to do that. So don't get behind and, stay in a position where you can run the football. Some of those, you just start kind of looking at the end of the game, you got to throw it because you're losing. And so, we got to keep the ball game closer so you can run the ball more effectively. We say what we want to do. That's the identity that we're working towards is being a team that can run the ball, that can be physical. Yes, we want to be downhill and all those things, but we have to actually do that. And we've got opportunities to do that. We're going to have to continue to keep working on it and getting better at it. It doesn't change who we want to be. It doesn't change the fact that that's a goal of ours. In the identity of what this offense should look like. At the end of the day, we got to do it, and we've got to stay, in the ball game. We get ourselves behind, and now that being said, it's not all run. It is balanced. There's got to be some balance, and that balance in the pass game, has got to show up. You still have to. You don't want to just throw it to throw it. For statistics, you want to throw it so you can complete passes and move the ball and get yourself in position where you can get some rhythm on the offensive side. And I think that's what throws do. They give you rhythm. They give you an opportunity to move the ball. It gets other playmakers on your team involved as well. So you're trying to spread that ball around and give guys opportunities. But the identity of running the football, you still want to be a physical team that runs it and that allows you to then be able to throw the ball, and we got to create plays on the perimeter as well. So at the end of the day, I think that's a little bit skewed when you look at the games that we were behind, especially in the Georgia game. We felt like we had to throw it a little bit more to get back into it. They're good up front, and that didn't obviously work for us. So, but it doesn't change the identity of who we want to be and how we want to have balance.
Jason Caldwell.
Brian, I guess with at the edge position, the down one, looked like Derek Hall got a little banged up. How valuable can a guy like Caleb Johnson be coming in the way he's played the last couple of games, and then I guess especially with Arkansas this week, the more physical running team?
Sure. Well, all those guys can be contributors, and should be. At the end of the day, Eku is out there playing on the edge as well. We got other guys. Derek's playing hard on the edge. That's a key position for us, one that we have to keep building, which is going to be a key ingredient for our defense now and in the future. And those guys, there's opportunities for them to step up on the edge and make plays. That has to happen in practice. So a lot of those things that we do in practice are going to show up in the game. A lot of those players that practice really hard and do things right are going to show up in the game. And, that's an area that, teams that we face that will run the football, and these teams that we play will run the football. You got to have a guy that can set an edge. You got to have a guy that's dynamic and can do some other things on that edge. And, we got some guys that can. We're still improving and getting better at some things at that position in particular, but those guys can play, and if they have good weeks, they stay focused, do the things that they're asked to do. Coach Watts does a really good job with that group, and when those guys are on it and they're taking care of their business, we usually have a pretty good performance by them on game day, and expect that we have that this week, especially against a team like Arkansas that's, again, another physical team that wants to run it, can run it, and plays hard, and we've got to have a guy that can set the edge and help the front seven on the defensive side from that position.
Tom Green.
Hey, Brian, I think the last 2 weeks we've seen JJ Pegues in at tight end again on some jumbo sets. Is that something that we should expect to continue to see with him mostly focusing on defensive tackle but still having a little bit of a role in that offensive game?
Well, yeah, we utilize. JJ's a good player. You want to try to get the best players on the field. We've also used him on special teams, so he's doing quite a bit, playing D-line, playing special teams, doing a little offense. I imagine that he'll continue. I don't know how much, as we move forward, his role is going to play on the offensive side, but, a guy that's done it, that's one thing. So there's video evidence of him. Still feel like he's really developing himself into a D lineman, and really good D lineman. I think Coach Eason has done a good job with him, and he's getting better up front. So we're getting a chance to see that, and there's little sprinkles here and there of him on the offensive side, and then what he's doing on special teams. So we'll see in this game plan. It's a little bit week to week how we utilize him, but the one thing I would say is you got to give him credit because he's able to do all those things in all three phases and contribute and be a guy that can start for us in all three phases, which is a credit to him, his ability, and then just how he prepares himself, and his football intelligence is very high. He understands the game, and that's what allows us to be able to do multiple things with him. So we will see what that looks like this week and what opportunities he gets on the offensive side. But his focus is on D-line, his focus is on the things he does on special teams, and then how we may utilize him on the offensive side depends on, what our game plan is going into this week.
Jordan Hill.
Brian, you've talked about the importance of finishing drives in the end zone. Just how much is that a point going to be emphasized this week against an Arkansas team that scored 51 on Saturday?
Well, again, it's emphasized every week. There are no weeks. There have been 0 practices that we don't emphasize that. You finish drives to score touchdowns, period. That's what you do. And that's the challenge every time you get the football and you move the ball, and we can move the ball. There's opportunities for us to do that. You got to finish. You got to put the ball in the end zone. You got to score touchdowns. You got to have guys make plays in those situations. You got to have great plays, calculated, and very high execution, very detailed on the plays down there. Know they're going to happen fast. The red zone, the field's condensed, and things happen quicker. down there. So it's just, you practice it, you spend time on it, you emphasize it. We have not undervalued the finish of drives whatsoever. And that goes back a lot of years, and that's the most important thing from an offensive standpoint is how you finish in the red zone and how you put points on the board. That's our responsibility as an offense, and we've got to do a much better job of that. When you want to play in games and you want to be able to run the ball and do all those things, you got to score touchdowns. And Arkansas put points up. They put a lot of points up. Did a very good job. Their offense they showed to be, again, very explosive and can create, touchdowns and can put a lot of points on the board. So if you're going to win games, you got to score. So that will continue to be an emphasis like it has been every single week. It has to happen. So practice-wise, it's got to happen in practice. It's got to happen in the games. And, we got to find ways to score touchdowns when we're down there and not settle for field goals. You'll take points, but we got to find ways to put it in the end zone.
Bill Cameron.
The Arkansas offensive front's going to be another big challenge for the defensive line. You mentioned JJ, who played the most snaps he's played there on the defensive front. Also saw Marquise Robinson in there, and I'm sure you'd like to have as much depth as possible. Just talk about how those young guys played and how you feel about the depth there on the defensive front.
I think they played good. As far as the depth goes, it needs to be better. I think, we've got guys, we got to be better on the defensive line and be more competitive within that group. O-line and D-line is where, you really have to have really solid play every day. You got to have competition on the D-line because you're going to rotate D linemen in. You got to not lose too much when someone comes in. So you still want to be able to do all the things that your schemes are calling for from whoever's in the game from that standpoint. And those are just areas that we have to improve. And I see some of the younger players, like you talked about Marquise Robinson. There's a reason he was in there. He kept showing up in practice, and so he'd earned an opportunity to play. Obviously playing against a very good team and having a chance to come out there as a young player. But that's part of, the mentality that we want to have in this program is we want guys competing. We want guys to go out there and earn opportunities to be on the field. And then, we want to see those guys succeed when they do. And I thought those guys were good. I think they were good. They're playing against a good front. Like you mentioned, Arkansas is going to be very good. And, their O-line and Coach Pittman does a very good job with that group in particular. You see that with his entire team. Like I said, they play physical. I think that's how they coach their players, and you certainly feel that on the offensive side, feel it with the offensive linemen. And so the D-line, we've got to step our game up. We've got to have a better week of practice. We've got to go out there and play and be physical up front and do our jobs each time. When they're running the ball or throwing it, we have a responsibility. And, some of those younger players, if they keep stepping up and they keep putting themselves in a position where they can compete, and we feel like they're the best players to go out there and play, we're going to have a chance to be able to do that. And to me, that's the exciting part. I think our guys know that. There's opportunities there, and if you get it, take advantage of it. So the reps you get in practice, maximize that. If you really want to play, you're going to take that serious, and you're going to be ready to go, prepared. You're going to know your stuff. So you spent time away from the facility studying and getting yourself ready, and you'll get your opportunity if you're the best player, and you earn that chance to be out there on the field.
Last question today, Coach, comes from Justin Hokanson.
Hey, Coach. What are you seeing on the defensive in the defensive secondary in terms of some of the big plays that continue to happen? Georgia hit a few. Is it communication? Is it just putting guys on an island sometimes and it's a risk? Like, what are you seeing in the defense kind of continuing to give up some of those big plays?
Well, I think there's a little bit of everything at times, but for the most part, I think we're getting some things. We're getting things communicated. I think there were some things that, and go back, not just necessarily in the Georgia game, but you're talking about the entire year. There's some miscommunication that happens at times, but for the most part, I think we've communicated well in the back end. when you're talking about wide receivers and DBs and plays like that, it comes down to winning your one-on-ones is what it comes down to a lot of times. And you got to be able to cover and challenge the wide receivers. Guys will make plays. There's going to be times where, there's a spectacular catch. But if it's contested and you're in a position, that's the best we can do from a defensive standpoint. We want to be in the best position. We want to play the ball. We want to get our eyes around. We want to be in a position to knock the ball down or have a chance to pick it. And it really comes down to that. It comes down to just your fundamentals, your techniques of playing that position. A lot of times, putting our guys in a position. I think we've done that for the most part. But when you get into a one-on-one, that's why you spend all that time practicing to prepare yourself for the one-on-one situation. Zone is different. Zone, your eyes are a little different. Your field area that you cover is different than man. And so a lot of times it comes down to those man situations, one-on-one opportunities. You got to get a chance to win it. And so that goes back to preparation. It goes back to techniques. It goes back to understanding who you're playing against. Like, what do they do with these players? How do they utilize them? And just doing your homework, and then having yourself prepared in practice. So those are things, and that's probably not all of them, but those are some of the things that I've seen that we're going to continue to keep getting better at, and that we're going to focus on, and that we need to be ready for every single week when we go out there and play. That's kind of football 101. That you got to be ready for that every time, and put yourself in the best position to be successful on the play.
Coach, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.